Testing.
They'll check 1, 2. As the mayor of the Junior City Commission, I call our February 12th meeting to order, beginning with a prayer by Commissioner Todd.
Dear Heavenly Father, we are so glad to be here today to our second to last meeting, and we hope everybody gets home safely. Amen.
Now we will have Commissioner Patel or Vice Mayor Patel lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our business tonight will be by reports from the commissioners about events that are happening at Archer Elementary School, information about Archer's Teacher of the Year and Employee of the Year, and reports about our school garden, the science lab, and school guidance. Commissioner Valdez, will you please share your report from your interview with Mrs. Hartwell?
Yes, Mayor Armstrong. This month I interviewed Miss Hartwell. First, I asked her what are some new things happening at Archer. She said February 22nd, there is a 5th grade recorder concert. On February 28th, PTA will have a general meeting and Title I All About Florida Night. On March 7th, there will be a 2nd grade musical performance. And on April 5th, we will have our school carnival. Next, I asked her, how did students do on the middle of the year FAST test. She said our students did very well on the middle of the year FAST test. We saw improvement from the time the students took the test at the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. Then I asked her, what are some things you want to do at Archer? She said, one of my favorite things to do is to visit classrooms to watch teachers and students work together. There are so many interesting things happening in our classrooms. I also enjoyed visiting with students at the end of the day when they are waiting for their parents in the car circle. They usually have some funny stories to tell about the day. After that, I asked her, what are some ways people can volunteer? She said, we're always looking for volunteers for our Real Men program. We encourage parents to contact their children's teacher to find out ways they can help in the classroom or on field trips. We also are looking for volunteers to help with our carnival on April 5th. Lastly, I asked her, what are you most excited about at Archer? She said, I'm most excited about seeing students grow and learn. Not only are they learning academics, but they are also learning to be kind and helpful citizens.
Thank you, Commissioner Valdez. Commissioner Todd, will you please share your report from your interview with Archer's Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Bailey?
Yes, Mayor Armstrong. This month I interviewed Miss Bailey. She is Archer's 2023 to Archer's 2024 Teacher of the Year. The first question I asked her is, what is Teacher of the Year? She said, Teacher of the Year is a program that the Educational Foundation of Alachua County holds. It is to recognize teachers at each school in Alachua County. The next question that I asked her is, what do the teachers get for being Teachers of the Year? She said there is a ceremony that is held to celebrate the teachers that were chosen for their school. Then I asked her, how do you become Teacher of the Year? She said teachers get nominated by their peers. If nominated, the teacher has to share their philosophy of teaching and resume. After, the teachers will vote for who they would like to represent Archer. After that, I asked her, was this her first time being Teacher of the Year? She said it was yes, it was her first time being Teacher of the Year. Next, I asked her, what does Teacher of the Year mean to you? She said, it is an honor and privilege to represent Archer Elementary for Teacher of the Year. She said she is very proud and excited to walk across the stage and show the rest of Alachua County how awesome we are out here. Last thing I asked her is, why did you become a teacher? She said she struggled in school, and it was because teachers never gave up on her. That made her decision to become a teacher. She wanted to be a person that makes a child believe they can achieve the impossible and trust that they are smart enough. She said to witness the moment when students start to believe will always make the profession worth it. She lives by this quote, if they cannot learn the way that we teach, they must learn the way they learn.
Thank you, Commissioner Todd. Vice Mayor Patel, will you please share your report from your interview with Archer's Employee of the Year, Ms. Reese?
Yes, Mayor Armstrong. This month I interviewed Miss Reese about Employee of the Year. The first question I asked her was, how do we become Employee of the Year? She replied, you have to put in a lot of hard work and dedication to become Employee of the Year. After that, I asked her, what is her favorite part of her job? She replied, her favorite part of her job is building relationships with her students so she can better understand them. Then I asked her, what are some after-school activities she's involved in? She said her life revolves around her kids. She is a soccer mom and a basketball mom. Then I asked her, how long has she been at Archer? She answered, she has been at Archer since 2019. After that, I asked her, what is your favorite part of Archer? She said, my favorite part of Archer is the family aspect. Archer Eagles are a real family. Lastly, I asked her, what other schools have you worked at before Archer? She said no other schools, but she worked at Martin Rochelle Learning Center before this.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Patel. Because Commissioner Vasquez is absent, I will share her report from her interview with Miss Thomas about the science lab. This month, I interviewed Miss Thomas about her job as a science teacher, and the first question I asked her was, "What do you expect from your students?" She replied, "I expect students to follow the 3 B's. I expect students to be respectful and responsible by listening and following directions. I expect them to be safe by using the lab materials correctly." The second question I asked her was, why did you want to become a science teacher? And she replied, "I wanted to become a science teacher because I love learning new things and experimenting. I also love providing hands-on experiences for students to depend on their understanding of science." The third question I asked her was, "What is your favorite thing about being a science teacher?" She replied, "My favorite thing about being a science teacher is that I get to work with so many students around the school. It is never boring." The fourth question I asked her was, "If you didn't teach science, what would you teach?" And she replied that if she didn't teach science, she would teach math. The fifth question I asked her was, what is your favorite standard in science to teach and why?" She said, "One of my favorite standards to teach is force and motion." The sixth question I asked her was, "What methods do you use to teach science in your classroom?" Miss Thomas told me that one of the methods that she uses to teach science in her classroom is inquiry. This means that students are making real-world connections through exploration and high-level questioning. The seventh question I asked her was, who inspired? She replied, "Mrs. Davenport is my inspiration for being a science teacher. When Miss Thomas's children attend Archer Elementary, Mrs. Davenport was their science teacher. Mrs. Thomas said that she always loved hearing about the activities they were doing in lab." The last question I asked Miss Thomas was, "What challenges do you face as a science teacher and how do you overcome them?" Miss Thomas said that one challenge that she faces as a science teacher is that since she only sees some students once or twice a week, it can be difficult to get to know every student well. She said she is working on overcoming this challenge by asking students questions that are not science related before class and outside of science class.
Thank you, Mayor Armstrong. Will you please share your report from your interview with Miss Morales about the school garden?
Yes, Vice Mayor Patel. My first question was, what kind of plants are you growing this year in the garden? She said, this year we are growing lettuce, kale, carrots, and radishes. In the spring, we will grow cucumbers and tomatoes. I then asked her, when did you start growing things in the garden? She replied, we start with lettuce, kale, radishes, and carrots in the fall. We will continue to grow kale, radishes, and lettuce in the spring, along with tomatoes and cucumbers. Then I asked her, how do you keep the garden alive and growing? She said, this year the garden is thriving. I am happy to report that we have harvested more than ever. We did a really thorough job of planting properly, fertilizing, and watering in the beginning stages of the garden, and it has been thriving almost on its own ever since. My last question was, when can you typically take care of the garden? She said, we plant the garden during science time and care for it during recess throughout the year. Harvesting happens during science or recess as well. It can be challenging to fit gardening in, but we have been very successful this fall and look forward to the same success this spring.
Thank you, Mayor Armstrong.
Commissioner Bello, will you please share your report from your interview with Dr. Leibach about Archer's guidance program?
Yes, Mayor Armstrong. For this JCC meeting, I have interviewed our guidance counselor, Dr. Leibach, about her job and Danny's dilemmas. For the first question, I asked how many kids come to you for guidance every week. She responded that she gets about 20 kids per week. That, combined with the other programs she does, she gives guidance to all the students in the school. For the second question, I asked, What motivated you to be a guidance counselor? She responded that she was interested in psychology and human behavior, as well as wanting to help students and their families. For the third question, I asked Dr. Leibach, what do you think is the most important part of being a guidance counselor? She said that being able to intervene early with students' academic, behavioral, and emotional needs is the most important part to her. Her hope is to influence society positively. For the fourth question, I asked, how well have students' attitudes improved over the years from your guidance? She said, with the guidance program and supports I've offered teachers, I've been able to help students improve their social skills, problem-solving skills, and resiliency skills. For my fifth and final question, I asked Dr. Leibach, why did you begin Danny's Dilemmas? She replied that she thought it would be a fun way to teach students about student behavior. That was my interview with Dr. Leibach.
Thank you, Commissioner Bello. Is there any further questions? Are there any public comments? If there are no further comments, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn this junior city meeting.
I second that motion.
The motion to adjourn has been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion carries 6-0. The meeting is adjourned.
That's how me and Jordan Marlowe got to be such good friends when we were kids. I went over a summer. I went
My mountain carrier.
oh, yeah. Sure. You're talking
People forget.
Tony just texted her.
What she said.
She's not quite here yet.
You should have told her we could see that.
Well, good afternoon. Our mayor is running a little late, so me as vice mayor gonna start it off and pray that she get here as quickly as possible. And we're gonna start off with Commissioner Hope doing our prayer and Vice Green doing our pledge of allegiance.
Everyone stand, please, and bow your heads. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we humbly approach you this evening and give thanks for our opportunity as your public servants to freely and safely meet together to discuss and act on the business of our city. May we not take for granted this blessing that takes so many and your will to accomplish every day. We ask you to provide solace and peaceful resolution to the conflict with our brothers and sisters in Israel and the Middle East as only you can provide. May we have understanding and the wisdom to accept your guidance and the peace that only you will and can provide. Protect and keep all our men and women in uniform throughout the world who defend our freedoms at home. Be with their families until their safe return home. We give thanks and ask that you watch over all of our first responders who provide for our safety and well-being 24 hours a day. Be with them, O Lord, as they perform their duties to benefit and keep us. Gracious God, may we accept and use the spirit of encouragement to encourage others and just not ourselves, for it is truly like a transfusion of your grace. And as written in your word in Proverbs chapter 12, verse 25, may we remember, an anxious heart weighs a man down, but always a kind word cheers him up. In your holy name we pray these things. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We can call it. Any additions or deletions to the
Staff mail.
buzz off? All right. Oh, I'm done now. She's here. Hello. There you go. Hi, how are you? All right, so as you get ready, no deletions are, so we can go for agenda 1.
Yes. You're gonna move the consent agenda.
Oh,
Adoption agenda.
okay. Okay, so we're gonna adopt the agenda for last month,
No,
for this month,
tonight.
for tonight.
Yeah, and I'll make the motion to do so.
I second that, Madam Vice Mayor.
So you had a motion by.
So we had a motion by Commissioner White, second by Commissioner Hope.
Correct.
Is there any question? Any questions? Commissioner discussion. Okay.
Public discussion.
Any public discussion? On the motion.
All right, looks like it's none. And she is ready for me to start. Hello, everyone. I am sorry that I was a little late. I was trying to get here, but it's wet outside. We had a ceremony tonight at the school, so I knew I was going to be a little late. Let's move on since we don't have any discussion on the motion, which was the consent agenda or adoption? Okay, which was the adoption of the agenda. Let's go to a vote. All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Oppose likewise. Motion carries 5-0. And before we move on, that was Commissioner White and Hope.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, consent agenda, which includes the minutes from last month, January 8th. Do I?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Thank you.
I didn't say anything in it.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner White and a second by Commissioner Green. Any discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Before we get too deep in tonight's meeting, I want to remind everybody that if you don't turn your microphones on, they cannot hear you on YouTube.
Why are you looking at me?
I'm just looking over you. That sounds like a guilty conscience. I mean, I think you're projecting.
There's your little red fireflies.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Look, I had to look at mine to see if mine was red. When you said that, I was like, oh, shoot, did I forget? All right, thank you. All right, any discussion, commissioners, about the consent agenda, the minutes from January 8th? None? All right, public discussion on the motion.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is to approve the minutes as well. Am I right, Madam Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I was looking at the minutes. And I have them back there, but I can't find them. But where you show citizens' comments, it had my name on some parts of it, Laura and I name on some parts of it. But there's nothing to indicate what in the world we commented on. I know that minutes are not verbatim, and I would like to ask this commission if you would just add a subject. You don't even have to put, say if I spoke about the roads, road repairs. Citizens comment, Roberto Lopez road repair. Something as simple as that. But just to put our name there with, how will anybody know if they come in to get the minutes, and because they don't have a computer or whatever. They don't know what in the world the citizens had to say about anything. And I just don't think that that's fair. So I'm asking you to please add an addition to citizens' comment with just a simple term, a simple word, a simple something, other than comments by Roberta.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Additional comments, discussion, questions? All right, seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. A motion carries 5-0. All right, we have two guests. The first one is Alachua County Sheriff's Office.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, Manager, Attorney, good afternoon.
Hello.
My name is Emery Gainey. I'm the sheriff here in Alachua County. And we come tonight to tell you a little bit about the state of the sheriff's office and some of the things that we're working on and doing. But before we get started with that, I'd like to take an opportunity to introduce some of our command staff and our zone deputy who's here with us tonight. Major Chad Scott is here. Major Scott has all our investigations areas, including narcotics and some other things under his command. We have Major Jeff Cloutier and Deputy Director Swallows. They run our department of the jail. Is there. Deputy Director Whitworth is over there with him as well in that corner. I think Major Bassinger is back. He has all our patrol services, most of the uniform operations that you see and really visible. Chief of Staff Morehouse, back to my right there, next to him. Deputy Director Captain Butcher of the Patrol Division. Sergeant Frank Kinsey, our Public Information Officer, is there. And Deputy Farlow, who's working this area and this zone as well, is with us tonight. So I want to talk a little bit about when we came into office back in October. As you know, there was a change with the prior sheriff, because of some health reason left office early. There was an appointment by the governor. He was gracious enough to appoint me to the office, which I asked for. So I told folks I'm not going to complain. I asked for the job that's there. But what we found was an organization at the time that was significantly short-staffed. When fully staffed, we're a little over 930 people agency-wide. We walked in with 248 open positions, which is about 26% of the agency at the time. Here's the good news. In the time that we've been here with these men and women we just introduced and many others, we've hired 107 people for a net increase of 67, because as you can imagine, some people retired, they left, they changed to other jobs for various reasons. So while that's progress, we still have a lot of work to do. And as you can imagine, being that short-staffed, there are many things that we'd like to do that we're simply unable to do at this time. Some of the units, in fact, because all the units for the most part, are still short-staffed. My hat's off particularly to the men and women at the Department of Jail. Of those 248 positions we talked about, 119 of those were in our jail, which is 1/3 of their time, total staff. But here's the good news. Men and women are working overtime. They're coming in on days off to ensure that their fellow correction officers are safe, that the inmates are safe, and that the community is safe. They did an outstanding job. And I want to sort of give you a little snapshot. We are an accredited organization in 3 areas. One of those are a jail. We had a re-accreditation here since I've been in office, despite being that short. 262 standards. The men and women at jail passed every single one of them with flying colors. That's the dedication of the people that you have at that jail and throughout the sheriff's office. In fact, our communications have been reaccredited in that time frame. And just next week, we'll be going over to St. Augustine to receive the law enforcement reaccreditation as well. So quality men and women, we simply need help. Everywhere I go, I tell you this is my shameless moment. When I say, if you're looking for a job, come see us. We're hiring. And we want you to come work for us. And someone always asks, am I too old? No, you're not. Come work for us. Quite frankly, if you're young and old, we'll take you all that's out there. So I want to talk about a couple of things here in the city and then the surrounding zone area. And then, Madam Mayor, if appropriate, and if there are questions, we'll try to take some questions. I'll be happy to take some questions as well. So in the last year, within the city limits itself, 281 calls, which is really, really good, quite frankly. And I will tell you that of those, 139 were what we call increased patrols, where the men and women have either based off requests from individuals or businesses or themselves have increased patrols around certain neighborhoods and businesses at that time. So as you can see, that leaves about 100 plus calls for service. Some of those are things like 17 noise complaints within the city at that time. We've had 22 traffic stops, 3 other traffic-related problems, 10 suspicious vehicles, and there was 3 burglaries as well. And that's within the city limits. But if we look at the entire zone for this area, which sort of goes to the county line south, about halfway the Newberry, that Half Moon area, north, of course, to the county line to the west, and then back up towards 122nd Street to our east. Within that larger area, there's 2,815 calls for the area for service. So again, within the general area, quite a bit more, but only 281 in the city itself. Those things like 237 traffic stops, 104 suspicious persons or incidents, 19 burglaries within that area, 26 assaults and batteries of some sort, 2 armed robberies, and about 54 traffic crashes. And my guess is probably the majority of those are somewhere along Archer Road or 45, road that severely need to be widened with the amount of traffic that not only here in the county, but coming through the county as well. That's out there. We're also aware that you all recently passed a golf course cart ordinance. I got my legal staff taking a look at it. I think they had one question that they're trying to run down, but we'll wait for their response to that. We're also aware that there's, well, first let me say around the county, we've had a number of block parties, and so is the city of Gainesville. These things get out of hand really, really quickly. They're broadcast often on social media. Folks come, there's alcohol, there's fighting, there's some gunshots in some cases and things of that sort. So our deputies learned about one that was planned for here in the city of Archer. Immediately upon learning for that, they went into overtime mode to figure out who it was, where they were, progressively went out and found those individuals before the block party started. So I had some long heart discussions about what potential charges would be and if they started those activities here in the city. And fortunate enough, they made a wise decision and there was no block party. So we'd encourage you, thank you, we'd encourage you if you hear about these type of things or see any flyers or social media, let us know. We'd much rather try to break them up before they start than have to deal with the aftermaths after they gotten to the point and gotten out of control. And of course, because they're social media, they usually aren't just local people. They aren't necessarily just people from the local county. They come from all over. In fact, as our friends and my fellow Sheriff Brad Whitehead up in Union County some time back had a whole contingency of Alachua County people up in his county causing some significant problems. So we'd like to break those up. as quick as we can. All right, I think that's the gist of the main things I wanted to say, and I want to obviously be respectful of time, but Madam Mayor, if there's questions that we can address at this time, we'd be more than happy to.
I have none, but thank you. Commissioners, you have any questions? Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Chair Gainey, I can't even hear you.
Pull it down a little bit.
I hate this thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I had word not long ago that we had not had a contract here with you in years. Well, I know it hasn't been that many years, so, and that the threat was that we would not have our daytime deputies that we're so used to, Deputy Gargalack and Lowe. And we are very fond of them. That doesn't mean you can remove them. But, can you tell me where the contract stands?
Well, first thing, and I can absolutely assure you that we will be here, regardless of contract or not. Obviously, it works better if we can get the legal
Right.
standings in. I'm not sure from the attorney standpoint where the current one may be. The last one I saw was signed. I don't know what the expiration date of that one may be.
Madam Mayor, if I may, there was a new one pending, but it was right on the cusp of your entrance into the scene, and I think your staff was trying to let everyone get settled in before we were going to revisit that idea. Happy to kick that back to whomever in your office I need to get that rolling.
Absolutely. One of the people who came back, in addition to a number of the folks that we introduced here, is a former attorney that spent over 30 years with her, Cindy Wygant, so she's back in the office, and Michael Beckler, secondary attorney who's a longtime assistant state attorney here, so absolutely get back over to them. We'll work it out and we'll get it signed as quickly as possible.
Perfect.
But Commissioner, irregardless, we will be here
So it
providing
hasn't
services.
been years since we had a contract.
No, I saw one that has not been years, no.
No, we were negotiating one, I think, in October, and it was because the one that we had was expiring. It wasn't that it had been non-existent for years and years.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a concern. Down in the Holly Hills area, and thank you all so much for taking care of that block party before it got started. So, luckily some of the citizens also saw the Facebook page, of the person that was trying to put it together. And so thank you all so much for that. In that neighborhood, which I'm a part of, we've always had the drug problem.
Sure.
And we still need help down there. I don't know if it calls for more increased patrol or what, but on Magnolia Street, and then there's a lot of time in the evening times they block the whole road. So I don't know if you all can help the citizens a little bit more in that neighborhood. It would be very much appreciated.
Commissioner, thank you. Yeah, we're aware of it, and obviously had some discussions with you about it. We've asked the deputies to try to do that. We'll tell you, just straight up, with the number of people that we're short right now, there are a number of things we simply cannot do. I know one of the complaints, I was waiting on someone to ask, was about traffic. I can tell folks when I left here, we had 3 squads of 5, 3 sergeants and a lieutenant, so 19 total traffic deputies. We got 4 now for the entire county, and that's simply a result of the status that we're in. So as we hire deputy sheriffs, we get them trained, we'll start getting back out and doing some of those things. We did get with Major Scott's folks and talk about the narcotics unit taking some extra looks. They're doing it, but unfortunately they too are short and haven't handled narcotics in the entire county. But we have not forgotten about that request and taken a look.
Okay, yeah, because we definitely need the help down there.
Absolutely.
And it's not the people that lives in the neighborhood. Most of them are, as you probably know, that's probably with every town. That is not most of the people in the neighborhood. They come from other areas and, other places and just make the neighborhood really looks bad. But, for the most part, most of the residents are senior citizens, so, yeah, so.
I understand.
Whatever help we can get down there.
Thank you, will do.
Right. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, thank you all. It's always great to get the opportunity to come out to Archer and visit. including the town hall from the other night. That
I enjoyed
was
you.
good. We
I always
enjoyed it,
enjoy you,
yes.
though.
And thank you all, I know, on behalf of your citizens for working on some issues that I know make a lot of those happy here in Archer
Yes,
as well.
sir.
So if we can come back at any time, you have questions, don't hesitate to give us a call or our zone deputies, and we'll see if we can get you some answers to those questions. So thank you and have a great meeting.
Thank you. You too.
Madam Mayor, I do have one other question. I know a while back, there was an officer sitting in our meeting. They were having, do we no longer get that?
You get that, but same problem. Yes, they got more important and high priority calls involving injuries, then, they got to address those first. But again, it all goes back to that staffing issue.
Okay.
But to the extent that we can get someone out here and they're free when you're having the meetings, by all means. But right now, we're spending a lot of time going from call to call to call and don't have the staff to do a lot of proactive patrols or things as the meeting. But if you know you got something extremely controversial that's coming up, if you let us know ahead of time, even if we have to bring some in on overtime, we'll make sure to address those. So if you know you got those type of meetings coming up, please let us know ahead of time.
Thank you, City Manager.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Second guess, I'm not going to say it, our lovely Felicity, I'll say that.
You can say your favorite engineer. It's all right.
I could say that, our favorite engineer.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commission. Thank you for having me this evening. Sorry, just making sure there's no commotion going on in the background. I'm just here to give my monthly update on everything that we are working on for you all. So I'll just run through my list and then happy to entertain questions at the end. So right now for the water system project that you all have heard about, those 12 projects that were on the map that I'd shown, the replacement of frequently breaking lines and looping some of your water lines to reduce flushing. That project is still ongoing. We did receive the final survey information we were waiting on in December, so we can move forward with the design. Starting next week, Tony and I are having monthly update calls with the Army Corps on the stormwater project that they're working on for you all. So no major updates this month, but I do expect as that project progresses that I will have more updates. And so those monthly meetings are just to let us know where they're at. If they have any data that they're requesting, they would do it at that meeting and we get it over to them. So Tony and I have already provided them historical flooding information, taken them around town to show them different ponds and ditches and roads where there's issues. We went all over town about 4.5 hours. I rode with them around town looking at stuff. They did soil samples, and so they're getting started on that citywide stormwater model, and they'll use that to identify projects, and we can then use that report for future grant funding. The state really looks favorable on the report that they're going to provide. And the projects that they would identify are things like new stormwater pond expansions, widening ditches, new culverts, things like that. Anything stormwater related to alleviate any flooding issues here in the city limits. I've talked about the cemetery project that we're doing at the cemetery over there next to the park. We are working with 3002 Surveying, and so what they are going to be doing is collecting survey information and the markers, the boundaries of the actual survey themselves, but actually the gravestones and things like that that are existing out there to create a GIS database that city staff can then use to know where people are and where people can go in the future. So it'll be a lot easier for them to know where to place people in the future. And then the community center, so the new African American Community Center, still moving through on that. There's been one meeting so far kind of looking at some concept plans and provided some feedback on that. So they are slowly but surely progressing towards a really nice community center with basketball facilities, kitchen, meeting areas, bathrooms, things like that. So still in the same location up there by Maddox Park. And then also, we had an architect come and look at the ADA accessibility of City Hall for that CDBG grant requirement. And so they took a lot of measurements, and we're working with them to nail down exactly what we need to do versus what we might want to do. Just there's some things that were a little surprising that we thought were ADA that weren't. So kind of going through that list and prioritizing that. And then everybody's favorite project, wastewater. So since the last meeting, the city of Newberry, I'm sure you all know, has signed the interlocal agreement as well. So very exciting. That was one of the last big pieces that we needed, paperwork wise with the state to really move that project forward. So very, very exciting. It's come up quite a bit, so I'll just reiterate it for anybody who has questions about it. When it's talking about prices in that interlocal agreement, those are the wholesale prices between the city of Archer and the city of Newberry. It is not referring to the prices between the citizens and the city of Archer. Those are still pending. A few things that we're working on, including a rate study and some construction estimates, and we will certainly present those when we have them. I think that's all I have for today. Happy to answer any questions that have come up.
Thank you. I don't have a question, but I do want to say that Mayor Marlowe reached out to me last Tuesday night after the town hall meeting, and he wanted me to let everyone know that Newberry has the lowest rates in the county. So don't worry. So, and I believe it was like, well, their rates to their customers is like 10 something, I can't remember, but he wanted me to make sure I made that announcement, and I had to tell him, well, unfortunately, we're already gone. So I can't remember what the number was, but he did tell me to make that announcement, so I made it.
I have a couple of questions too. What to follow, piggyback on Mayor Bailey. I text and email some of my friends that live in Newberry. I said, we just want to kind of know what we're playing with. I know we can't absolutely say this is going to be the price, but the average water bill for a family of two runs like $40. The average, for the older homes, if it's like 3 to 4 people, they saying it run like 67 and 80. And for, let me look.
Is that water and sewer?
Just water. Cause they have lights, water, and all of that together.
Yeah.
So with the
She's looking at her messages.
yeah, three people average is 35 to 40. And then this one said 4 people, an older home runs like 80. And this said this newer home, 3 people runs like 67. But the average person I talked to, about 6 of them, is saying 40. So $40. So
For water?
for just water and waste. I believe the garbage come with that.
Okay.
But not sewer.
It's just the water bill.
Did they say about what the sewer bill runs?
I thought that was with the sewer. I mean, the water is the sewer.
No,
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't want to drink sewer.
Okay. I'll go back and do some more research then. But my other question is the retention pond behind the post office. Have we looked at that? Because I went out of town this weekend and 2 people who live in that area in front of everybody. What y'all gonna do about that retention pond behind the porch?
Unfortunately, that is not our retention pond. It's a private retention pond.
Oh, okay. So that's what I can tell them then. You know,
Does it belong to?
All I can do is code them and make them clean it, and I do that quite often.
okay. So it ain't on us. Okay. So those are my comments and questions.
Does it belong to the
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Want to comment, my son lives in Newberry, and it's a family of 3 children and 2 adults, and their sewer bill runs $35 to $40 on top of the water a month. And it's a 2,800 square foot house, 2.5 baths. So,
Okay.
and they're not conservative, so at all. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, most
the-
young
the
people
children,
are not.
yeah, place
That's-
shower, pool, baths, or whatever. So they have a swimming pool in the summertime and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
anyway,
'Cause I-
my question is to Madam Mayor, to Felicity. You know, we keep talking about we'll get on to the rate negotiations. When is that? When do you anticipate that coming? August?
So I guess my question back to you would be between with you and your citizens, or with you?
When we know we're
Newberry.
talking about the rate structure. I mean, like we used to talk about affordability and we wouldn't be over $35, $45 a month.
Right. That's still the
I'm-
range that we're looking at.
Okay,
I would like to have something to present probably at the April meeting.
okay, and I'm not gonna hold you to it. I know there
yeah.
was a lot of anxiousness after the last
There
town
is.
hall meeting and I appreciate you giving information at every town hall meeting, but it's like a crescendo that just keeps building and.
I know, it is, and it's one of those things where we don't wanna put a number on it too soon, and
No.
then construction costs come back crazy,
yeah.
and it is, when you do a rate study, you do look at the median income within city limits and things like that. It is taken into a consideration. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but the state does,
But we're still
have
in an
guidance on that.
affordable system is what we're looking at. We're-
yes.
Right.
You know, because
Yes.
again, in respect, I don't want to speak on behalf of all the citizenry here, I'm just a public servant, but I think it's quite obvious the train has left the station and we're going to get the wastewater system. I mean, and this regional system is upon us. And I think there's a trust factor there with the citizenry that I've talked to, but there's still that anxiousness of, are we still in that affordability range, you know, and I just want to reiterate publicly, you know, with your support, is that's the whole reason we went with this regional system, is so that we could stay within that affordable range for our citizens
Yes, that's correct.
for phase one, and even in future planning for phase two. It's the same affordability of what we think our citizens can balance.
Right, and
And
when
so-
you set your wastewater rates, it'll be the same whether somebody's in phase one or phase
Right.
two, it'll be the same rate.
And
So
this-
they won't
and
get charged
The train that
differently.
left the station never to come back is when we were in that $70 to $90 range. Those plans are just gone. They're just, we're not.
Yeah,
We're
those,
not
I
feasible.
I think
I
those
mean,
are
when
like
it
a
was our own
2012.
and we were gonna have our own
Yeah.
operations and maintenance and that overhead, and that's why we went with the regional system to have Newberry primary lead
Yes, back when-
responsible for.
When we did the PER, it was either $32 or $38 we were looking at for the average
Yeah.
residential user.
I mean, because those questions that were being posed to you the other night at the town hall were, what if there's a pipe break between here and there, or, you know, at the plant there? That's a Newberry accountability once we hook up, so.
Yes, and they're required to do stuff by the state, but also gotta, as your partners in this, we have to trust that they will do what's required of them, not only
Right.
by the state, but in good faith.
Right. Okay, thank you. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I just have one, please. Listen, and I don't know if you can do it or not, but our water maps go back to, when did we get water? When did Maddox supply water?
63.
So, we've got water maps that go back that far, but they're each one different.
Okay.
And those need to be like consolidated. The guy's gonna, you know,
We're already working on that.
well, y'all should have told me. Okay, that's
I have
good.
asked them to map all of our water lines, our fire hydrant lines, everything that we've got, map it into a GIS system so that we'll know where it's at.
Can we get a grant for that?
I don't know if you can get a grant for that, but most of the information I already have collected as part of the infrastructure projects that I'm doing for you. So right now it's in CAD format, but it's not too much effort on our end to convert it into GIS format, or so I'm told. There's young people smarter than me that do that, so.
Thank you.
You think?
You know, I'm probably out to write it up.
Yeah, we're trying to make it something that has all that pertinent information, like which roads are the state roads, you know,
Yeah,
that sort
well,
of
the
information,
guys
so it's easy
have,
to.
they said that they would have a water leak or something, and go to look at the map or something, and they're going through 15 maps to find, no, I'm kidding, I'm exaggerating something.
True. but
Your
we
kid,
get the
that's
point.
just about right.
Well, that's what they were saying, it gets frustrating. So if they could just all be consolidated into one.
Yep.
Thank you.
No problem.
It's kind of very similar to what we're doing with the cemetery.
Okay.
Just putting everything together in a GIS system so that you can read it and know what you're doing with it.
We're working on it. We're collecting our data. We're getting there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So Felicity, will you take questions if the citizens have any questions?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so any public questions, comments for Felicity on the information she presented? Okay.
Charles Tufano, resident. The new community center, how's that being funded? Is that a grant or, so it's not property tax related? And then second question is, we talked about the potable water line project. Is there like a date when we'll all be able to say, hey, it's done? And, you know, like, I don't know what the scope of that project is.
Yeah,
You know,
so
leaky
it's-
pipes and,
It is, so it's not necessarily a big project, but it's a spread out project. So one of the things that we're talking about and we're trying to nail down is how we want to bid it out, because it's so spread out across the city. If, I don't see my map in here anymore, but it is probably available on the city's website, or somebody can probably provide it to you, but there's 12 different project areas where we might be doing 2 blocks here or half a mile there. And so we're trying to figure out the way to get it constructed the most quickly. Is that one contractor with multiple cruisers and multiple contractors? But just based on how materials and stuff are, it will be next year. It'll be in 2025 most likely.
when it's all done.
When it's 100% complete.
So it's only sections that are bad.
Yes, so in some areas, it's an entire neighborhood. In some areas, it's not. It really varies based on where the project area is. Like there's one line where there's a water line that needs to be buried deeper. I think Archer Woods and Holly Hills, it's almost completely new water lines in those entire neighborhoods.
So they're good to go.
They will be, yes. And then some looping on the south side, so it's really quite variable. But if you take a look at that map, or the water master plan that we did, that details each of the projects. Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll take a picture.
Roberta Lopez. My water bill runs about $53, $55 a month. There's only my husband and I in the house, 1,500 square feet. And if I add on 35, that's 90. I just thought I'd point that out. If it goes up to 40 for Newberry, it would be more. So I figure we'll probably be paying around 100 a month for water and sewer. The other thing, a lady called me the other day, and she owns a lot on 2741 on the south end. And she doesn't have an easement into this lot, so she's got to work on that, I guess. So I asked her, I said, do you have a meter on the lot? She didn't know because it hadn't been a house there in a long, long time. And I say, well, what about a septic tank? She didn't know that either. So I asked this lady, just in case Ms. Hammond get a letter from her, requesting some information, because I don't know how she can go about finding that out, but maybe you can tell me. Will we send Calvin or somebody down there to check, or how do we find out? And you can go in there through Miss Regis' property. She has permission to enter that property. The last name is, I call her Luigi.
I mean, we would be able to tell if there were previous water lines there, on the water account there. If there was a previous water account there, then obviously they've got a septic tank somewhere on that property.
This is what I told her, but it's been a long, long time since a house been there.
If there was a house there, then it has to have a septic tank somewhere.
That's what I told her.
And she's going to have to hire somebody to locate it for her.
So she would have to hire somebody for the septic tank. What about the water? If there's a meter there, for example.
If there is a meter there, or if there is if there was a meter and the meter was removed, we should be able to locate that.
Okay,
Because it would be, it's gonna be close to the right of way anyway, and we should be able to locate that without any problem.
Yeah, well, I know she's gonna be writing a letter, so all she need to ask you to locate is her meter.
Yeah.
And then her septic tank, that's something she's gonna have to find
She's gonna have to
herself.
locate that herself.
So, when she locate the septic tank, I know that you've been putting stakes out where people have the septic tanks, right?
Yeah.
Will she qualify, she will get a stake there, so that if she wants to get sewer, she can get it? Once she locate the,
If she does not, and correct me if I'm wrong, Felicity, if she does not have a building there or a home there, she would get a stub out. She would not get a meter.
right. Okay, I think that question came up before somewhere, but.
If it's the same one, she asked it at the town hall meeting, she would get a stub out for a future meter.
Yeah, that was
But
my niece. She
we
has the
will
same
not put-
problem down
We
in
will
Holly
not put a
Hills.
meter there if there is not a house structure there.
Right, but just a stub out.
Correct.
Yeah, at the right of way line.
Okay, so if she write you this letter, just tell her to write you and say you would like to have your meter, the meter located.
Meter located and, give me the property location so we can go out there and
We'll
look
get
at it.
we'll get the parcel number and the address.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that all? I guess that's everybody. All right, thank you. Commissioner White, did you see this invitation? You can get a picture of it. All right, so we're gonna move on to public announcements. And I have two announcements. One, the Commissioner White is looking at. It is the State of the City 2024 with Mayor Jordan Marlowe in Newberry. 6:30 p.m. is the Taste of Newberry. 7 p.m. is the State of the City address. And that will be at their City Hall. Tomorrow, the 13th. I'm sorry. Thank you. So, Commissioner White, did you get a picture of it? Or do you want you can have one.
Yeah,
Get
let
a
me see
picture.
that, because that's a different one than I've got. I got one for Gainesville.
Oh, okay.
There's
Theirs is, but theirs is early.
It's at like 1 o'clock or something.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's somewhere in Gainesville.
I was meeting with Newberry this morning and they were talking about the fact that Gainesville's was at some hour that I don't know how anybody with a job would attend, but.
Because that's why I knew it was during the day, because I saw it, and I was like, I'll be at the school, so whatever. And the second announcement I have is about our city manager, who has done a great job since he's been here. I want to pass that on to you if you want it. To him. I must send it to you. Who's done a great job, such a great job, that he's received this beautiful plaque that I will read and present to him. ICMA, International City County Management Association, in honor of 25 years of service to local government. Charles A. Hammond is recognized for significant contributions and achievements in the advancement of local government administration, awarded at the 109th ICMA Annual Conference, October 3rd, 2023, signed by Mark Ott and Jeff Towery. So we, the city, proud of our city manager, and would like to present him with his plaque. She's gonna beat you up with it. Good job.
Thank you, ma'am.
And he's done an awesome job since he's been here.
There you go. Smile like you like it.
Here you are. Here you are. If you want to keep it nice and crisp until you get home. So I just wanted to use a couple minutes to say that sometime I know that he is probably stressed out by us and by citizens, and probably me, definitely, because there are some days that I either call or text him almost the whole day because it's, I have so much in my mind going on, and he always responds. So I appreciate it. And I do see a difference in the city. I do see a difference in so many things that are being done and started here, regardless of naysayers. I do believe no matter how much good you do, you're always going to have somebody to complain. We cannot please everybody, so we're not going to try. We're going to just continue to do our work and do what is best for the city as a whole. I just want you to know I appreciate you. All right? You're welcome. Okay, that's it for my announcements. Any other announcements? Yes, sir.
I have one, Madam Mayor, and I announced it at the town hall meeting, and this is specific, I guess, to tree huggers or environmentalists or whatever, but Archer is known for its firsts in many areas, and historically, Archer has many firsts, but we can add one to the list. We had our annual Arborist Day in January, and we had our county lead arborist, Lacey Holwitz, out and helping us choose some trees to plant around. And she identified, she was, according to what I heard, I didn't see her in my yard, but she was kind of in shock and awe over this big old tree that I fuss and cuss about year after year, and it's right on 170th Street on our corner lot. And it's a big old huge tree. I thought it was some kind of walnut tree. I'm a tree hugger lover, but I'm not an arborist. But it's known as a linden tree, and it is, according to Lacey, the state's largest linden tree on record, and it's in my front yard. So I think that's pretty cool. So it's in downtown Archer.
It is cool.
I'm going to get back with Lacey and see if, there's some way we could do like just an informational plaque or whatever. If it truly, she has researched all of Florida. She's gone in the Panhandle, Georgia, Alabama, and there's not a current linden tree that's the size of that one. So, and it drops its limbs on the street in spring, and you guys have to go around the limbs, and that's where I do the fussing and cussing to get the limbs out. But it's a cool tree. It attracts bees in spring by the thousands when it blooms and stuff. But it's a cool old tree. But
I need that tree over there near my house so they can pollinate my flowers.
Yeah, and it's survived a lot of storms, but I haven't heard her tell me what the age of it is, but I don't know so much about the age, but she said it's circumference-wise and height, it's the state's largest, and she's still researching. But anyway, that's kind of cool to be in downtown Archer.
I was going to say we should go and take a picture there, all of us.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure Lacey confirms it.
A nice, beautiful day.
She's already taking all the pictures and all that and sending it to all her fellow arborists or whatever. I thought that was kind of cool, so.
That's very cool.
Another Archer first, so.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any additional announcements?
Jesse Moses, President of ACPO. We just want to announce, which I did, I think, at the last meeting, but I want to make sure that we are aware that the 5th annual MLK banquet is coming up on March the 16th from 6 to 9. And we're going to be honoring a couple of our citizens here at that particular event. So just want to make that announcement that it will be on that particular date.
What time? Do you remember the
It's
time?
going to be 6 p.m. on a Saturday. It's Saturday.
It's on Saturday.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. It's Saturday rather than Sunday.
Saturday.
Okay.
That's why I kind of wanted to make sure we were aware of that. Usually we had been holding it on the Sunday evening, but we're going to do it on Saturday evening this year. All right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Mr. Moses, if you ever want this is just a comment just for you, the history of the organization, somehow or another I ran into the paper, found the papers where my dad and them organized it like in 1960 something with all the officers. on there and all the petitioners' names. So if you ever want that, I can get you a copy of that.
He needs.
You know I do. Okay, certainly I do. I thank you, Commissioner Green, and I would look forward to, getting a copy of that for you.
Get your copy.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're going to the public comments. Please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Roberta Lopez. I just have one question. And I guess I did receive the letters that were sent out to Orkin and the third party for the inspection at the community center. And as of this moment, neither responded. So,
Could you pull the mic down a little closer? Thank you.
at this moment, neither responded.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Go.
We're talking about the termite inspection. February 9th, February 7th, my archaeologist went up and found.
I know about that part.
You know about that
what
part.
What did you?
So, anyway, on February 9th, Orkin went in. They inspected, and I have that report in my files. And they found a whole bunch of termites under the sound system, in the walls and the panels, the fuse box. And they guaranteed it for 30 days. That was 1 year ago. So we've been waiting for this inspection or whatever, so that we could get somebody, I guess, to go in there and treat it or whatever needs to be done. I think it is the responsibility of this commission and the manager at this point to perhaps hire somebody or find somebody who would do it free to go in there and inspect. And if you recall, Madam Mayor, I think it was Commissioner Green who suggested that, and Commissioner Hope, that we go ahead and get something done with this and try to put it to bed. Well, it is not to bed, because we have a building over there that's still, since from a year ago, if it hadn't been treated, is still infested with termite. So I'm asking you one more time to please get somebody to do it. Felicity, from what I understand, she applied for the CDBG grant to bring this building into compliance. But back in July, if you recall, Madam Mayor and I think Commissioner White had made a motion, it passed, to put some money from somewhere to make this building come into compliance. Well, what I would like to suggest is this. Since she applied for the CDBG grant, why not use some of that money? And I know what the problem is, because I've heard it so many times in here. And I've heard it even from the public works people. We're not going to do it because it needs a tent and it costs too much money. But you're not going to know if it needs a tent unless you get it inspected.
Okay, so that was your 3 minutes, and my understanding is that that was being taken care of, but I could be wrong from last year.
I wrote the letters as directed by the commission. I have yet to hear anything back. We don't have a contractual obligation with, I believe the gentleman's name's Sean. I think he was doing that as a nice thing, not necessarily because we had a contract. We do have a contract with Orkin, and I haven't heard anything back from them. That's a little bit more concerning to me than the Sean thing. I mean, we're in a contractual relationship with them. They should at least be responding to letters from the city attorney. So, I mean, you've got a couple of options on how you want to handle Orkin. You know, it's a regular contract. If they're performing dissatisfactory work, we would need some evidence that they are, in fact, performing dissatisfactory work, you know, defaulting under the contract. So, to, I think, Ms. Lopez's point, you may need a third party to come in and say either they're right or they're wrong in order to get some money back on that contract. I will note that the way that Orkin contract is written is you're only able to recoup contract costs. So if you were to find out later on that they had done a bad job and we incurred a really large amount of money in damages, we're only going to be able to recoup contract costs from them. So just something to keep in mind about Orkin. That's just the way they write their contracts.
Okay, so,
We need a termite specialist?
well, what has been done already, Tony? What,
We had an individual that came in and had the credentials to inspect the building. He inspected the building and kind of gave us a verbal report. He gave us some photographs of what he saw was dead termites. None of it was active, but they were dead. He sent us the photographs, but we have yet to get a written report from him. I have talked to him 3 times at least. I know Deanna has talked to him. And like the attorney said, he was doing it gratis. I can't go beat on his door and make him give me a report that he doesn't have to do to begin with. So our only other option is to find somebody else and pay them to have them go in and do it.
But Orkin isn't gratis, is it?
No, Orkin,
We pay Orkin.
I don't know what we pay. Orkin is required to go in and inspect and treat it 1 time a year. That's the contract, if I remember correctly.
Have they scheduled that for this year, Mr. Hammond?
Pardon?
Have they scheduled that for this year yet?
Not this year yet.
Is it every 2 years?
It's once a year, so it would be.
And the reason I'm asking that is because my house is like that, and they only come out every other year to actual do any kind of treatment. They inspect annually, but they only come out every other year to do any kind of treating, unless there are termites found. And I'm just using my example,
Right.
And I use Rentokil, Florida Pest Control, so it's apples to oranges as far as comparing it to Orkin and what Orkin does. My concern is, and again, I'm speaking my opinion, not this whole dais, is that have we shown the necessary urgency from last February 9th, when they did something with a 30-day warranty of something? I don't know what they warranted, because they're not going to replace any of the wood or anything with the damages or whatever. That is my question. I'm dissatisfied with Orkin. What are you warranting for 30 days that will determine that we're okay? What are our responsibilities in that 30-day period if you're going in there and shooting it with spray and we're killing a few of those dry wood termites? There's 2 types of termites. I mean, I've learned more about termite inspection, and again, it's from my reference association of the Sean Robinson, that is the Patriot Pest Solutions LLC. This guy is certified. This guy was an Orkin regional manager before he does what he does now, which is carpentry work. But he has still his certification for Patriot Pest Control Solutions LLC, and can go in and do commercial work, residential work. No association. I've recused myself of any other than he's done woodworking at my house to prepare it for the painting and the stuff we've done in the last 6 months. And through conversation is when I learned he did this kind of stuff. And because I live in a 117-year-old house, and we had to do some porch work, he started finding dry wood, termite doo-doo or whatever, and Mary and I got real concerned about whether they were live or whether it was old stuff. And so that's when I started learning about, what are you looking at, Sean, or whatever. And this is when we took the boarding off the flooring and all that and realized what he's talking about. And that's when in conversation we started speaking, and this was in September and October of 2023, about what was happening at the Archer Community Center. He offered free, gratis, whatever, to go in there and do it. I've been concerned that he didn't finish a WDO report, is what it's called, to go in there and assess whether it's subterranean or dry wood. There are two types of termites. Sean has told me things that I can't validate unless we contractually get with Orkin and find out or not, but he says you don't ever get rid of dry wood termites. They fly in, they fly out if they can find access to something. They eat, they bed, they fly away, die, lay their eggs, and they're gone then. And that's the residue that they leave behind. They're not as damaging as the subterranean termites that once they get embedded in the dirt and the foundation and stuff, then they've got their permanent home to go and retreat back into, no matter what you're doing, unless you do the full $30,000 to $40,000 tent job, is what the Archer Community Center, according, again, this is Mr. Sean Robinson just giving me coffee conversation talk about what a building of that square footage probably might cost. He said to treat for the subterranean type live infestations, it might be $3,000 to $4,000. A one-time treatment, killing all those subterraneans and make them all go away. But they can still fly back in if they find a hole or a window or cracks and crevices to go into. So, and my full conversation going full circle with you, all of y'all, just hear me ramble. What did Orkin do for 30 days that they warranted last year? The question in two conversations I've had is my question for Orkin. My question that I'm alluding to with Mr. Robinson in my conversations I've had with him, he says, do you all clean on a regular basis? I said, Sean, why have you asked me that twice? This is between September, October, and today. I talked to Mr. Robinson today, and I'm just disclosing that. He says, well, you've got to vacuum all that. If it's dead residue and damage that's old, you've got to vacuum all that up, get it all up, so then you can go back in there and do a re-inspection or whatever, make sure that if there's any new live doo-doo wings and all that hatching out. He says, have they done that? I said, I don't know. I'll ask the city manager once we start having this conversation tonight. Mr. Hammond, you're going to get angry at me, but I said, Sean, what have you sent to the city? And he sent me the photos. And so I'm publicly disclosing on November 22nd of 2023 what he sent you. It is a one-line statement. It says, attached are the photos from the inspection. I found evidence of drywood termites in the upstairs audio booth area. Drywood frags, agates, swarmers, wings, and exit holes. Today, I confirmed with these photos. Once I looked at them, I called him back and I said, Sean, was this live activity or was it dead cemetery, dead drywood? Was I looking at a cemetery for termites, for the drywood flying kind? He said all of it was old decay, old stuff. He says not 20 years old. He says because you just you established that building in 2011, but this is old stuff that's in that audio subfloor. That's where they came from when they came in, and wherever they're coming from, whatever's not sealed up there. And he says, have they vacuumed all that up? I said, Sean, you've already asked me that twice in these phone conversations. I don't know, but I said, I understand what you're saying. To be able to assess whether they're coming back in spring, since we're talking February to February, is there some way they're getting back in there to do it all over again? You got to vacuum up all the wings and decaying refuse that they left from the last time they were there. And that's what these photos identify. So I will pass them around so that y'all see, and again, not trying to insult you, Mr. Hammond, but in respect to this man that is certified and does this, he did do what we asked him to do and send it to you in a very informal way, and I apologize for that, because I asked him today in the end of our conversation, I said, Sean, as Patriot Pest Solutions LLC and the president or officer or owner or whatever, can you please complete that WDO report in a formal manner and send it to the city manager so that he has something to disclose? I said, and the reason that my importance in that is that we're still contractually involved with Orkin.
Right.
And if they're not doing this same thing, to me, and again, I'm not trying to give Sean Robinson, the owner of Patriot Pest Solutions LLC more kudos than Orkin, but I would expect Orkin to be doing this at this point. If you've asked, just as a courtesy, Mr. Hammond, I mean, I respect you that much. If you ask me to do something, and we're on contract, or I'm your public servant, if I say I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
If they're in avoidance with us in this contract, then enter Danielle and our team, because I mean, not that they're gonna rebuild any subfloors, they're not gonna repair any wood or replace it. None of that happens when you have termite inspection, none of it, unless you go to full litigation, and I don't know how that works out, probably not very well. Because all they do is remedy the infestation, but not the damage. That's your insurance and liability and all that other stuff, from what I understand. Not from Sean, just from what I understand from Rent-A-Kill and Florida Pest Control in my house. Because Mary and I already tried to go that angle with it wasn't subterranean in our porch flooring, it was the drywood type, like what we're looking at here. But that inspection and annual termite contract you have does not deal with any of that. That is an insurance liability if you even want to try to do that. And if you don't prove every year that you had that inspection and had that treatment, you're not going to fly anywhere with liability insurance. So I've gone the full circle here in this conversation. I do think this gentleman is legit. I do think he has some remedies and things but he doesn't want to step on Orkin's toes if we're contractually still bound to Orkin, is where I think Mr. Robinson is going with this. But he did commit to me today, excuse me, Ms. Lopez, until I finish.
And
He did
you've
commit to
already
today.
spoken, so you could save it. You could save it. We're just talking. So let him go ahead
I'm
and
more
finish.
reporting than anything else,
Right.
Madam Mayor.
I
I'm
just
sorry.
want to clear up one thing that he said.
Ms.
But I
Lopez,
left this
it's
man
not the time.
with the obligation to give you that WDO report.
Open one of those waters, honey.
No, I'm overcoming whatever I've had for the second time in 4 weeks, so I'm sorry. And talking too much. But whatever this WDO report does, it's a document that will be signed by a certified pest solution provider that will at least give us some, I think, ammunition to be able to then approach Oregon and say, do you want our contract or not? Or because if they haven't reached out to you to say it's time for your inspection on something that they remedied with a 30-day warranty last year, there's no initiative at all from our current contractor in my book to even come out and care about that Archer Community Center. And I'm concerned about that. Not because I respect Ms. Lopez and all of her concerns and her archaeologists and all that kind of stuff. The point is that's $1 million+ asset down there, and we have to take responsibility for it. And we need to be cleaning it and vacuuming where we've identified this infestation of drywood termites.
So, come on.
It's not just the community center that Orkin takes care of, though. Look how many buildings we've got.
The senior
It's
center,
happening in-
the senior center building
I
is
pull it down a little bit so I
very
can
old.
hear you.
It's like, did they come in there and do that one?
Well, that's what I'm saying. You got the community center, you got.
Is there
They take
drywood
care of all of
infestation
them,
in that
right?
old building? I mean,
So-
and not taking anything, Ms. Lopez, away from the Archer Community Center. I'm just saying, we're not getting our due and obligation out of this contract.
That's
called
what I'm
Orkin.
saying. I mean,
Period.
and do we need to go with somebody besides Orkin to go in there and recheck? Or whoever you were talking about.
And that's our only thing that
Sounds
we have,
like it.
I don't think we've done, I don't know, Mr. Hammond, you'll have to check after this conversation and diatribe from me tonight. And these photos that you received from November, has that been vacuumed up to where we can then start assessing whether there's more new drywood infestation or not?
I will go back over tomorrow and look. The last time I was in there, and it was upstairs in the audio room, there was nothing on the floor. But I will look again.
And when Ms. Lopez and I went, when we had whatever event, and I asked you, would you make sure that's unlocked, because she wanted to share with me the different probable areas that she was concerned about. We did not see new activity, not like what he was posting on these photos.
They had cleaned it.
Ma'am?
They had cleaned it.
That what?
They had
It
cleaned
was
it.
cleaned, and I thought
With your assessment, it had been cleaned
It
from
had
what
been cleaned,
you
right.
and Mr.
Right.
or Dr. the archaeologist. Help me out.
And Commissioner Hope, the only thing I wanted to tell you, you were a little bit confused about what they meant when they said 30 days. I know exactly what they meant because I have the report. I've sent that report to all of you too. And what it meant was this.
Ms. Lopez,
They give you 30 days.
you had your 3
for
minutes.
treatment.
Thank you.
But, again, I'm not confused about all that. What I'm
Thank
saying,
you.
what treatment in 30
Thank you.
days did we get? And what did it do until the next period of review? And Orkins has not demonstrated to me, Mr. Hammond, and again, not to me, but to us, that they have any initiative, showing any initiative to go back in and just check this building. Or even ask you as a courtesy, even if there was a charge for it.
Right.
And I'm concerned about that because, whether you get charged every time you ask for a reinspection of that area, whether we have to ask for it or they come in just as part of their contractual relationship and do it. If it's annual, then where are they? Because they're past due, their annual February 7th or 9th is gone, so.
Right.
And I will look at that again, but I believe that they came back again and looked and said that there was inactivity, but I'm gonna go back and look at the report.
And again, I need that, I would like to see that in writing. Contractually, and again, I'll use another example, I'm rambling, and I'm sorry, folks, but I belong to a 150-something-year-old church right down the street called Bethlehem Presbyterian Church, solid wood timber. And we have a pest control annual termite inspection. And I am the check writer that pays the bills, and I refuse to pay that bill every year until they give us a written report. Which means the guy went underneath the building, outside and inside, and he always reports with his land, old decay, damage, whatever, from years ago. I'll deal with that. Just tell me that you don't see any new flying wings and mamas and daddies and babies being born under there. And I'll pay you your bill. Right. But they know, I mean, that's Florida Pest Control. Rent-a-kill is what it's called now. You pay the bill to Ohio or somewhere, but they know I mean business. I don't care if it's a handwritten note from the inspector, the guy that came out and did it. You give me something in writing, because I have an insurance policy I have to pay every year, especially on that 154-year-old timber building, and they expect it to be regularly inspected. And I got to have something in writing, not just a bill I pay.
Correct.
And that's, again, Mr. Hammond, not trying to push you up against the wall. That's my other concern with this contractor. For some reason, they just don't think that that's necessary. And again, speaking with Mr. Robinson, just asking him, I said, Sean, you are Orkin Regional Manager. Is that appropriate that they don't do a written report? He said, no, they should be doing that. Now, he kind of gets concerned when he knows we have an attorney sitting up here. He's thinking we're going to sue him for something. I said, no, I'm not asking you to lead you down the bunny trail. But if you're telling me from your Orkin experience that's something that's appropriate, and I know that I get it from Florida Pest Control, with a 154-year-old timber church building down there, then what's up? So there you have it. I'm sorry. I sat up here and rambled all night, but trying to be concerned about an asset, that we have, and we have several old buildings.
Definitely.
Mainly the senior center, that's the other older timber building. And now we're talking about this, and the grant money for this, and this building, how is Orkin treating this with annual inspection? So, thank you. Thank you for listening. And again, that's just for whoever wants to look at it or whatever and pass it to Mr. Hammond or.
Didn't we pass it to Mr. Hammond? Okay. You confused me. I thought it came back. All right.
And it's available for you to see too, Ms. Lopez, so you see what this man did on November 22nd.
Do we have additional comments, public comments? Thank you.
Sorry, sir, to belabor this so long.
Hi, I'm Don Hansey, resident. I just want to, sitting back listening to everything you just said, to me, the city has an obligation to the citizens to ensure any contract is fulfilled. And it shouldn't, in my mind, it shouldn't be, well, if Orkin calls us to schedule something, we'll do it. We should be policing that contract and make sure that we're getting what we're paying for. And then the other concern I have is if they don't do their job, all you can get back is contract costs. That I mean, that's what you said, right? I mean, to me, okay, you're gonna pay me this money, and if things go to hell in a handbasket, I can just step back and say, here's your money, walk away, and I've got no liability, and now the city's stuck. And like I said, that's a city asset, and what other city assets aren't being looked at?
Absolutely.
And so I think, Ms. Mayor, you and the commissioners and city manager need to ensure that we're getting what we're needing, and looking at this clause in this contract and see if there's a better, more affordable contract that we could get to protect the city's assets.
It meets the needs of what we expect.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir, very much.
Mayor, I just want to make a comment. Citizen Charles Tufano. So yes, I agree with this, our citizen here and Mr. Hopes. So my question is, okay, we just spent 35 whatever minutes discussing this thing. So when I come back to this meeting next month, shouldn't that be an agenda item that says, okay, we had a month, here's the Oaken situation, and here's what we've done? Because I don't get the feeling, if I'm not saying something, or if it's not on next meeting's agenda minutes, we're not gonna get an answer to this. And it seems like we have several issues, as I've been coming to the meetings, that keep rolling on and on. If we identify it, let's fix it and report it and be done with it, so we don't have to keep talking about it. And I'd like to see that on next, I want to know what has happened. Is that an unreasonable request?
No, that's not unreasonable at all.
That'd be great. That would be very good.
Is that all? All right, we're gonna move forward. Oh, come on.
Well, I got public comment, but it's not concerning.
That's fine.
that
Public
particular,
comment.
Issue, which, in terms of what's happening with the community center. Matter of fact, mine is that is, we just want to thank the city for sponsoring and being a part of the MLK Day that we had in Archer. It really was a nice event that Pastor Walker put on, and it was well attended, and the speaker was outstanding. And I just want to let the city know that it was a great time held by all. And then we actually learned some things as well while we was there. And as well, we actually attended another event that was sponsored by Shiloh, the 27-year anniversary gala, and it was a tremendous affair. So I just wanted to make that known to the city in terms of me attending those events, that there were outstanding events, and thank you.
Thank you. And it was either 157 or 158. Yeah. 157. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, and we're going to the planning calendar.
Item A, local election qualifying for seats 1, 2, and 3 to start on Tuesday, February the 12th or 13th at noon. Local election qualifying for seats 1, 2, and 3 to end on Wednesday, February the 28th at noon. Keep Archer Beautiful on Saturday, March the 9th, 11 to 12 at Public Works. City Commission meeting Monday, March the 11th at 6 p.m. City Hall. Joint meeting with the Board of County Commissioners on Monday, April the 15th, 6 p.m. Archer Community Center.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We have no old business, so we're going to the new business. Agenda item 1 is resolution number 2024-05. Good night, Felicity. Setting the election date for seats number 1, 2, and 3. Designating the election for the 9th day of April 2024.
hell no, I thought our charter, I'm sorry, I'll let you read it, just a minute.
Madam Mayor, this is resolution number 2024-05, a resolution of the City of Archer, Florida, setting the election date for the City of Archer for seats numbers 1, 2, and 3, designating the election for the 9th day of April, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
I thought our charter said it was even and odd numbered seats that even on 1 year, 1 year and 2 years later, it would be the odd seats.
It's 2 and 4, and then 1, 2, and 3. So we're into the 1, 2, and 3.
No, that don't sound right.
Because you were elected for half.
5 maybe?
That's what I'm saying.
And what seat are you?
Be 4 or 5.
I don't know, I'm 2. I don't know what she is.
Yeah, it
I don't
could
know
be.
where I am either, don't really care.
I want
other
to say
than-
4.
I'm seat 3, so I'm coming up for sure.
Okay, well, if you're seat 3 and she's 4, then I got to be
I say
one.
2.
Huh?
I'm 2.
Okay, then I got to be 1.
Thanks.
Well, Kathy, you're not running, right?
I'm not running.
Yeah, so.
I'm good to 26.
Yeah, because Penny and
1,
your
3,
seat
and-
are the last 2.
You're right.
So they go together. And then
Yeah,
1, 2,
your
and
seat
3 on the
5.
same cycle.
Maybe we 2 and 4.
I'm looking, I'm not sitting here ignoring.
No.
Yeah, thank you,
No,
'cause
y'all
I
must be 4 and
I
5.
was certain it was
Y'all must be 4 and 5.
odd number seats 1 year and even number the next.
And Joni, you and I were on the last one.
I know, you and Iris, me and you and Iris.
So it's always been 1, 2,
So-
3.
Unless the seats are, unless I'm seat 5 or seat, yeah.
Look, Deanna, where's Deanna? Let me ask Deanna.
Okay, I think I've got it. Commissioner seats 1, 2, and 3.
Told you, see? Yes, you're 1.
Okay.
Hey, what seat am I in?
I believe Commissioner White.
This one.
The code reads, commission seats 1, 2, and 3 shall be filled in the year 2000. So this is obviously when we enacted the code.
Right.
And then it says, commissioners elected to seats 4 and 5 shall serve until elections on the second Tuesday in April 2018. So it's 4 and 5 and 1, 2, and 3 are gonna be your 2 rotations.
So who's 2 and 3?
Well, Commissioner Hope is 3.
I'm 3.
And I'm 2.
And she's 2. And
Commissioner White is 1.
Okay. That's your thought. The charter says even and odd. Maybe even
It's,
odd years.
it's even in odd years. You're not, there is even in the odd language, but it's the years.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to adopt resolution number 2024-05.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner White and a second by Vice Mayor. Any further discussion? That's okay. I know you wanted to know. I know you wanted to know.
Yes, I did. Well,
All right. Public discussion on the motion. All right, seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed likewise. Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, I should have asked this in discussion, but if we started the qualifying on the 12th, was there any concern or problem today with our deputy clerk not being able to give a packet out until we approve the resolution? Did anybody come in for a packet today? Is she ready?
Yeah.
I mean, I shouldn't even ask that of Deanna, but that just seemed like it was a conflict if she's had to have the packets today and somebody came in and we didn't pass the resolution until tonight. I mean, it's just, but we're okay now. So they can come, the public can come in and get a packet anytime tomorrow on, correct? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Agenda item 2, quote from Pyrotechnico for July 6 fireworks.
This is a quote that from a very professional company. They're home based out of New York. I have used them in 2 other municipalities. I used them in Ahoskie for close to 15 years. We looked at what we were paying for the local guys here last year and what we were getting out of it. And I called Pyrotechnico and asked them to make a presentation for me so that I could bring it to the commission. You'll notice that their proposal is $16,500. It is more than what we did last year. We did a little over 10. Lottsville County has a grant out now that is, they do it once a year for each municipality. And I've already talked with them about our grant, so we will get $10,000 to help supplement us on this.
So we'll have to pay the other 6, I guess. So we'll just be responsible for the other 6?
Well, it can work out that way. What we're looking at is the total cost is $16,500. We put in 10 last year, we get 10 from the county. That gives us some additional funds if we need to rent the children's activities and stuff that we do.
Right.
We're gonna wind up being responsible for music. We do it again this year. But we also will be responsible for setting up for the craft vendors and food vendors.
All right.
Whatever they were charged last year is going to be the same that we'll charge this year. And it will go into offset the cost that we're dealing with for the additional expenses and things like that. Hopefully, the St. Philip's Lodge will do the same thing that they did last year, provide us, the security and all of that, so we'll have to worry with that.
They did say that they were willing to do that. And I will touch base with them. And
if you look at what Pyrotechnico has proposed, it's quite an extensive display of fireworks. It's about 12 and a half to 13 minutes, with its relatively large shells, quite repetitious, not pausing between each additional shot, which is one thing that really irritates me. If I'm sitting out there watching fireworks, I don't want to have to wait 2 minutes between the displays to see. It's just, they're a very professional group, and so I've got the contract for y'all. If you would like to entertain approving this, I will be back in touch with them. Sorry, I'll get back in touch with them tomorrow.
This is saying 10-minute time.
10. And the additional thing to this is it is July the 6th, which is Saturday. If it was July the 4th, it was close to $25,000 to $30,000. I myself like 4th of July on 4th of July, but for that cost savings, Saturday's a good day for us.
Madam Mayor, I apologize. I just want to draw attention to, on page 11 of their quote, it reflects postponement and cancellation fees that are pretty hefty. I just want you to be aware of it. It's just making an informed decision here. They're talking about if you postpone essentially due to weather and you reschedule, you're going to pay the original contract amount plus an additional 25%. If you elect to cancel it, you're going to pay 75% of what you were going to owe.
My concern is what happens if we have a lightning storm and have to cancel.
Well, and it really speaks to that in under postponement number 2. I mean, it says if you elect to cancel the display on account of, increased damage or danger to person or property, or it's impossible, you're going to pay them 75% of the contract amount.
Right.
My person is personal property, and I take quite a bit of pride in it.
I know that's right.
So I don't want to get out in the light.
So not definitive one way or the other, but I did want to draw your attention to it.
Right, and I remember with last year, we had a problem with the cancellation policy, and you were able to talk to them and work that out.
I will talk to them and see what I can do with that.
Okay.
Yeah, at least this one's giving us till March 15th. to pay the deposit.
Yeah.
And Tony, if you want to tag team it and bring me into it, I'm happy to be a part of that as well.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, find out, get a little more information, and especially on the cancellation part, but looking at the date, yeah, we still have time.
Yeah.
But you can email us or,
The only problem I have.
yeah, right, you can email us though and let us know what information you found out, and then that way, you know, we kind of know what we're looking at.
Well, Madam Mayor, you all will have a meeting on the 11th, so I mean, theoretically, you could approve the contract and pay your deposit by Friday.
Correct.
You're not even gonna need a special meeting.
I ain't say special meeting.
I know,
said
I know. I like to put everybody's mind at ease about special meetings around
He
here.
could send us the information so we're aware before we get here. That's all I
Madam Mayor,
meant.
right now, they're holding that date for us until we make our decision.
They are, and I will talk to him tomorrow.
As long as they get their money by the 15th of March. Okay.
I was really lucky to even find somebody that could do something this late with us.
That's why I'm asking the question.
I mean, the people love it, and I'm all for it, other than, right?
Not
Other
being,
than, I don't want to come up with a storm and.
correct.
Well, postponement, that cost would be around $5,000.
Well, that's not what I read.
Postponement fee of 25%.
On top of your original obligation.
And again, I will talk with them because I have canceled with them before.
Oh, yeah,
Not
additional,
canceled,
yeah.
but postponed due to weather,
Right.
and I do not remember.
That
paying
might be why they
penalty.
put that in there. They said that he postponed with us before we go. We're not gonna let him do
'Cause I
that.
think the last time I did it with them, we canceled on the 4th of July, because it was a 4th of July event, we canceled on the 4th of July because of weather, and we wound up doing it Labor Day.
Okay.
And that would be a postponement fee of additional $5,000.
Right.
Move it from July 6th to Labor Day if it was available or whatever.
That's according to this.
I'm not saying that's peanut money, I'm just saying it would cost us an additional $5,000.
I said, they've got a stiff policy on their cancel.
Yes, yes.
Madam Mayor, may I recommend as well, another thing to look into would be to find out if that grant that Mr. Hammond has mentioned is contingent upon the event actually happening. You know, is the county gonna want their money back? You know, if we have to postpone. Is it the county that you said is doing the grant?
Yes, it's county.
You know, but you know what I mean? Like if we have to cancel it, is the county gonna want their money back and then we also have to pay,
Pay both of them.
you know?
Right.
Just something to ask.
If we cancel and postpone, or if we postpone it,
It's different than
it's still gonna be a county grant.
Right.
They're not gonna require it back.
But what if we cancel it and then we have to pay the 75% of the contract? Are they gonna want their grant money back?
I will check.
Just something to think about, you know?
I
We don't wanna
know
get
about that. I'll check
left
on
holding the bag.
it. I'll check with Jim
Correct.
on that.
And is, Madam Mayor, is that a shoe-in that we have that grant money? I mean,
Yes, I've already talked with him about that.
I mean, it is for certain, not
It's
applying for it.
It's a tourism
Yeah.
initiative that they started last year, and the only requirement is that your event must bring in individuals from outside of your local area. That's all the requirement is.
And it definitely does.
They all
Okay.
fund our food drive.
But,
Okay.
I don't wanna vote on it until we get all these
Oh,
questions.
we're not voting until Tony gets some more information. So we don't have a motion on the floor because we need more information. And he's gonna get that info and hopefully email it to us, so we'll have it before the meeting,
Madam
before
Mayor, may I
next
ask
month.
just one more math question, if I may? Mr. Hammond, in your mind, based on what we expensed last year, this grant source to bring it down to 6,500, plus additional expenses that we'll incur because we're gonna have to prepare for the vendors and the infrastructure or whatever, because that's gonna be on us now. We still got security and net zero from our sponsor with for St. Philip's Lodge, from what we know verbally, is your anticipation budget-wise to expense the same as last year?
I believe that it will probably be close to the same.
And we're gonna reap the vendor,
Correct. We're gonna
fees
reap
back
the
to
vendor,
us.
we're gonna reap the craft and food vendor profits. However, we'll have to wind up supporting or paying for the music or whatever we decide to do, whether it's a DJ or what. And actually.
And the kiddie equipment and.
Correct.
Bounce houses and all that will be expenses going out
Correct.
instead of the vendor.
And that was expensive going out of our pocket last year anyway.
Anyway,
Yeah.
okay.
I thought it was.
I mean, so,
Some of it was, it wasn't all, he had some of it he did himself, but we will be doing this all of ourselves this time.
so where I'm taking you down that bunny hole or whatever is we expensed, sorry, I'm good at that tonight, is somewhere between $17,000 and $20,000
Yes.
last year. And so we want to stay in that range, net out, and have a bigger show and be in control of the vendors and the vendor revenue.
And there is another option on the inflatables. Periodically, one of the governmental auction sites that I follow has those used ones for sale. And they run like $250 to $400 for these blow-ups.
It's like our big tent that we got one time, and it lasted about 2 years, and we never saw it again.
Never saw it again?
Well, I mean, it got damaged, and it was just,
Okay.
huge undertaking. It was, we had a big, that's for your time, but you all remember that when we had the big tent?
Yeah.
Big circus tent.
It was pretty.
Yeah, it was brand new, it was beautiful. But little did we know the maintenance that goes with properly storing a tent and cleaning it.
Okay.
All right.
Do we know how much we charge the vendors for coming out and participating?
I don't think, no, we said that yet because we didn't.
I'm sorry?
I was wondering, how much did you charge the vendors last year?
I've got to find, I think he charged them $150 last year.
Wow.
I think we got charged the vendor price, right? We didn't
Right, I
charge it,
think
he
so,
charged
right.
it.
We didn't charge anything last year. He charged it. He got.
Right, and that's what he was saying. This year, we would be the ones doing it, the city, so the money would go to us. So I think Vice Mayor is asking, would we keep the prices the same for vendors? Or do you have a price in mind for vendors?
Honestly,
Or no?
I think what he charged last year was pretty cheap myself.
$150?
Yeah.
Well, good look.
You gotta look at how much those people make when they sell that
I
stuff.
understand, you gotta look where they're coming.
Some of it.
Now, I just don't believe too many are gonna pay $150 to come to Archer on the 6th.
Is that a Saturday?
Well, that's something we could talk about it next month, because we don't, yeah.
We can check into it,
That's a good idea.
yeah.
All right.
And now we can go to the county public, whatever.
Okay, agenda item 3, and that is invitation to join the Alachua County Public Safety Coordinating Council 2024. And there is a letter and some other information. Anybody want to join?
I don't remember how long the term was. If it was in there, I read it. And Deanna sent it out. How long were they asking? Was it for a year?
Equal to 1 calendar year.
1 calendar year? Okay.
If the municipality declines to participate, they must notify the county in writing.
Has anybody served on it before? Here?
Do I think?
This is new for us.
Okay, it's new for us, okay. I was kind of thinking about it.
Well, you can have.
Yeah.
You can have it if you're thinking about it.
So when they meet, though, I can't remember, I read it online when Deanna sent it to us.
One term is one calendar year.
Right.
That's in this.
Oh, the first meeting on Thursday, May 9th.
Yep. Spring, summer. There's no Zoom option.
So is it, I don't remember if it was monthly.
1:30 to 3.
Oh,
That's right, it was an hour and a half, I remember that. And I don't remember how often they meet though.
Meetings are 90 minutes.
They only meet twice a year.
Oh, twice a year?
That's right. The PSCC
Did it say
meets
twice a
twice per
year?
year, once in the spring and early summer, and
Oh.
again in the fall.
There you go.
Okay.
Meetings are 90 minutes.
So I
Yeah,
will
so
make
that
a
90
motion.
minutes.
I will make a motion to.
You
I will
want to do
make
it?
a motion to approve Commissioner Green as our liaison.
Are you gonna accept that? Look, don't waste our time. Are you gonna accept that or this?
Well, that's right, because I saw that hour and a half, I read it online, and just, I'm like, okay, that's a long time, but maybe not any longer than what we are here.
No, because we're here much longer.
Yeah.
You've got 2 meetings in 1 year.
1 year, oh, okay. Just two.
Y'all good salespeople.
So I'll need to notify them in writing, though, right?
No, the city will do
The city
it.
will do it, okay.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Wow, and a second. Have a motion by Commissioner White and a second by Vice Mayor. All right, y'all, any further discussions? No discussion? All right, public discussion on the motion. No? All right, seeing none, let's go to a vote. All in favor of the motion on the floor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carries 5-0. All right, we have reports, correspondence, communication, and city manager's report by our manager.
And I just noticed that I forgot to put my attachment to this.
What do you mean?
The time before it's supposed to be attached to it, and I didn't attach it, so I'll send that out this morning.
Okay.
Next food drive is at Maddox Park, it's on the 20th of February. We've got another one on the 5th of March. We still have not received anything on farm.
Oh, okay.
The same in the OPM report is with our packet.
Oh,
I was gonna say this one.
Okay, that's it. Some of the things that Public Works has done over the last 30 days, they have started replacing the leader boxes and the lids. They're still doing some mowing here and there. They've done some patching of some potholes at 143rd Street. They've cut down a couple of dead trees, one at the community center. They did one over on 170th at Holly Hills. They finally got down all of the Christmas lights, fixed a few water leaks, one on 164th Terrace. Replaced the flushing valve at Miss Roberta's house. Cut some limbs on over the pavilion at Maddox Park. Cleaned up the playground equipment. Worked on the following roads: southwest 139th Street, southwest 176th Street, southwest 168th Street, and Pearson Street.
They also attended the Arborist Day thing, helped us in.
Yeah, he didn't put that down.
I remember because I did.
Madam Mayor, may I ask Mr. Hammond a question regarding just the street work
You can. Were you done with everything?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
relative to the citizen feedback that we received about not having streets and all that? Those have the streets, you just named streets and avenues where work was done, correct?
yes.
So it is on record it's not just the road number, it's street, avenue.
Correct.
So that answers that question in and of itself, the way you reported it this evening. So was she looking at something that was
We know.
previously done?
I don't know
And
because.
she's not here to speak for herself.
I
I'm
was
talking
gonna-
about Ms. Costello. And
Right.
I brought the
I printed it too. But I thought
the
that when he
30-something
when he does his manager's report,
Yes.
and normally when he's talking about things that have been done, he does put an address. I mean, not the full address maybe, but
Last month, I'll have to go back and look at it.
Is she speaking about last month or something?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
And again, I don't want to belabor this. I promise
We have to go
Citizen
back
Week,
and look
you know,
at
I
it,
won't,
but
I know that they track those breakages where they are because we're logging those in that system for Felicity and what the work that they're doing.
Correct.
So if it's not in some document that she's looking at, I know that, I would presume that Calvin and them are doing it when they enter it because it's required of the engineer and the work the engineer's doing.
Correct.
Am I correct? I mean,
yeah.
you haven't let Calvin and be loose where they just say it down this street, that street, or whatever. It's by the address of the street, avenue, lane.
Correct.
For the engineer's behalf of what they're trying to study. Okay. Sorry,
That's okay. And I'm pretty sure that's how Calvin reports it because every time I call him, that's what he
Yeah,
does
and
with me.
the system that he uses, it's from when we had Patrick here. It allows him to do it that way. And I know he's skilled at doing that, correct? It's Calvin that does that, correct? Or is it John, or both?
Both of them do it.
Both of them are skilled, cross-trained to know how to do that, so, thank you.
Yes.
That's all I have, Madam.
While I'm thinking about it, Tony, didn't we buy a grader from
Yes.
Arnold?
Yes, ma'am.
I have not seen
We discussed that yesterday too. Or
Look at
was
that.
it yesterday or today? Today.
Did we
It's,
buy it?
it's over at Arnold's. We didn't have a fence to keep it inside and they finally
Have
got,
we used it?
not yet. And we finally got the fence put up and Calvin and I talked about that coming over this week.
Okay. We got a grader, we ought to use it. Okay, thank you.
All right, attorney's report.
Short and sweet, everyone, tonight. I think everyone got my legislative update. I wrote y'all a letter detailing the super exciting bills that are coming down. I just discovered another one today of note. It says essentially that if it gets enacted, cities will be required to create an ordinance that disallows public camping. I know that that's been a topic of conversation amongst this commission, and so I wanted to inform you that you will be required to enact an ordinance disallowing public camping. Disallowing. You can prevent.
What does that do for the guy that wants to put the campground here?
No. Public camping is in like camping on public right of ways.
Highway, parks.
Okay.
Sidewalks, sides of the street.
Oh, okay.
And at your discretion, you may create a place that they are allowed to publicly camp for no longer than 1 year, but it's at the city's sole discretion, as opposed to the very belabored conversation we had prior about having to have a spot for folks to camp if you were going to, police that. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. I'll keep you updated on how that bill progresses through the House. It's got the governor's backing, so there's a good chance that it gets enacted. In terms of constitutionality, I think it'll likely get challenged. I don't know that it's constitutional, but I do want to flag that as something that is of interest for y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. We had another office guy.
We had what?
He's sleeping he's sleeping on the porch at the feed store that's no longer in business. He or she, I'm not sure who it is. Yeah, he's got files.
Madam Mayor, that's from Ms. Costello. That's from Ms.
Danielle, before
And then give it to
we
Tony.
go out to the commission, can you give them an
She doesn't.
update on the Thicket building?
Yes, you all are about 20 some odd days away from being able to file foreclosure on that piece of property.
Good.
Mr. Hammond had reached out and was like, how are we moving along? And we were playing that hurry up and wait game of that 90-day period of the lien having to sit there, you know? But as soon as we hit that 90 days, I believe you all had previously authorized us to file suit. I'll have to go back and check the minutes, but I think that was something we had discussed way back because I really wanted us, as soon as we hit that 90 days, to be able to move forward on that. So Mr. Hammond probably asked me about a week ago, 10 days ago, so you're floating somewhere in the 20-day mark of being able to file suit.
Right.
So there's your update on thickets. Sorry, thank you, Mr. Hammond. I'd completely forgotten about that.
Thank you. All right, we have commissioner reports. Go ahead, Commissioner Hope.
Madam Mayor, may I ask legal counsel a
Yes,
question, please,
yes.
just regarding old business, new business? Any follow-up on the CSX property owners? And that was a homework assignment 2 months ago or whatever, and
Yes, my understanding is that the CSX property owners weren't in agreement on how the property was going to be traded. And due to the fact that they're private property owners, there's not much that our office can do in terms of forcing their hand. In order for all of there were a lot of moving pieces from my understanding, a lot of property owners, and it was a lot of so-and-so will give this piece of property if this person gives this piece of property, and as soon as you have, one domino that doesn't fall down, the whole thing kind of falls apart. So in terms of the city being able to force that happening, it's not a great prognosis. Everyone in that general vicinity needs to be on the same page, and my understanding was at the time they were not.
wow. There are signed surveys by the owners in agreement from 2018 and 19 on file.
Right, but there was an agreement put together, and all of the property owners were going to have to sign off on it. And my understanding is that there was at least one property owner who was not going to sign off on it.
Who was that property owner?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Mayor, could we find who that was? Because I have records of the survey documents of all parties. Kirkland, Maddox at the time, which if that's now Mr. Ari Arnold, maybe he's the culprit. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not being disingenuous. I really don't remember who.
And then you have my wife, the Hope owner, and then Miss Hoyt. Those were the four. It was Hoyt, Hope, Kirkland, and the Maddox, the company.
Well, and I know our firm went through the labor of putting together the agreement. I've seen the
the county
agreement.
required that. When they passed the baton to the city, they had all the surveying done of the pieces.
And Clay had the whole agreement put together, but my understanding from Clay was that one of the property owners wasn't in agreement with that agreement.
I would like to know who
Sure.
that, if that's possible, find out who that is now saying no when they signed yes, when all this was going through.
Yeah.
I think that would be important to know. Thank you. Because
And reapproach them.
well, because this has a lot, this has an issue for the trails to be extended through downtown. It is mudding that water a lot, and what would be available or not for the continuance of the trail through downtown. That's my bigger concern in the horizon here is if this isn't squared away, then we're risking whether that we ever have that grant opportunity to have the trail extend through downtown Archer. Thank you.
Thank you. Time for your report, dear.
I have not a lot to report other than I attended the North Central Florida Planning Council meeting. The MTPO meeting was canceled, so I did not participate in that. And that's all I have to report, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Green.
I think all I have to report is still working on getting free mail services down in Holly Hills. And last time I spoke with the postmaster, but she is about to leave because she was only here temporary. They would give us, the cluster of boxes, get with the city manager about maybe providing the space for them. The concern I'm having now that if they ever get damaged or anything, the residents are all responsible. And I don't know if it's like that way everywhere with those cluster of boxes. Preferably, the citizens really wanted the free mailboxes at the post office since they couldn't get an individual box at their house. They're more in favor. So she sent out paperwork for me to sign because somebody has to sign for the paperwork before they'll do it. So I'm kind of still working on that and see what I'm responsible for if I sign something. But if they ever get damaged, then the citizen would have to come together to have them repaired and all of that, so. Anyway.
You mean
that's
the
just
cluster of
update.
boxes?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. That's all.
That's my report. I think that's all. I can't think of anything else. I don't have my
That's all right. It's
phone with me.
it's after 8 o'clock. It's okay.
Oh, and just want to say that Archer Church of God in Christ celebrated 94 years of serving this community on yesterday.
What was yesterday?
So all of our churches are pretty old around here.
What was yesterday? Wait a minute. Oh, the 11th.
The 11th, yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner White?
I attended the Arbor Day thing. I did attend the town hall meeting, although not there. Thank you, Kathy, for putting it up.
Yeah, that's my social media girl.
Yeah. Was
That day.
Commissioner White,
I think I got to
So anyway, I was there for most of it. And, yeah, I got to hear the wrong speeches. And,
You're funny.
what else did I do? Oh, I am going to share my, qualification and my election with the JCC. They're not gonna be campaigning for me, but, it's a learning experience for them. So, yeah, I think that's exciting.
Okay.
So that's it. That's
Oh, I
how
did go to Tallahassee too.
You did. All right. Vice Mayor.
I had the YMCA meeting.
Microphone.
Hey.
I had attended the YMCA meeting. Also, I went to Newberry last weekend because they had a barbecue cookout, which I think Archer did once before. Do y'all remember that they had like a cookout that compete? Well, Newberry had one of those, and I want to try to find out who put it together. They had a lot of vendors, so we might can. Huh?
I know we put the one here together.
Yeah, but we can get, if they can get like half of those vendors was in Newberry, we'll look pretty good because they had it, and it was a car show. So it had a lot of antique cars, a lot of participation, a lot of vendors. So
And this was?
Not this weekend, but the following weekend. Last weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this weekend I was out of town.
Okay.
And like I said, I had the YMCA meeting. That's all. That's all
Go
I
on Facebook and see where she took pictures. You'll know what she did.
Amen. Look, that's why I always ask her, are you going to be at the town hall meeting so you can stream this? Because, yeah.
Afraid it'd be too late to stop.
Oh.
Well, and then, it is okay to stream it because, like, sometimes people come, either call or text later with some questions that they had.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty good.
I appreciate it.
I did come to the town hall meeting, and I was running late because one of our nurses retired after. She's like 80, what's that, like 86. She was with us for like 23 years, but she was a nurse for 65 years.
Wow.
We have one more. She is 88 or 89.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Bad as the sheriff said.
So they might can go get part-time.
Boy, I hope I'm that healthy when I'm that age. Anyway.
Well, we got a new system starting tomorrow, and one of them nurses said, nope, I'm not going through a new system. So that's why she retired. The other one said she's going to try it for a little while. We'll see. Mm-hmm. So,
all right.
That's it.
Okay, so for me, Several things. I missed my meeting this morning because we had a lot going on at the school. Or should I say the kids had a lot going on at the school. So I missed the call-in meeting this morning. But hopefully I'll get the email to send you guys the information about the bills that they discussed. I did attend the MLK program that Pastor Walker did last month on the 15th. Enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. And then we went to Tallahassee the end of the month for the legislative conference. I had a chance to talk to Perry and Clemens. And what else did I do? Oh, town hall meeting on the 6th, which was a good turnout and very good input. This past weekend, I went to the Love Gala that Pastor Walker and ACPO did together, and it also was a good function. And I did my last CPR training with Shiloh at January 14th. I haven't had any other businesses or churches to reach out for training. So I think that was all. That's it.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
what do you charge for the CPR training?
Well, I was doing it for the cost of the card. So it depends on which card you need.
Well, I was thinking for our recreation, the coaches.
So it will depend, and for them, I think they probably need child and adult, so it'll be like 25 or 30. I have to check, because I have to get the cards through Santa Fe.
Let me get with them and see, because I think it'd be good for at least one of them to be CPR certified.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. That's it for me. All right, public comment period. Last comment period. You have 3 minutes again. Please state your name.
Roberta Lopez again. Mr. Hammond, I just want you to know how Roxanne is doing.
She's doing all right.
Roxanne is a new employee. I guess y'all know that. She was hired, I think, on the 31st. I happened to drop by City Hall, and she said she was hired. That's the young lady, if you recall, Mayor, that did the community service work. And she's been doing a fantastic job from what I heard down at the center. As a matter of fact, it looks very spick and span. What I am requesting public information on her is her job description. I'm requesting her salary as public information. And are we still contracted with Coverall, the cleanup people, who we had prior to her coming?
Their contract expires this month, and she is not an employee. She is a contract worker.
Okay, she's a contract worker. So
Correct.
since we have a contract worker doing basically what Coverall has been doing, so Coverall is still on the payroll?
Their contract expired, I believe, on the 9th.
Okay, I remember seeing the contract, and there's no, you can dismiss that contract whenever you want. So I don't know if we are paying Roxanne and them at the same time. So I will request more information on that. The other thing too, I think I may have sent all of you something asking you to get rid of Orkin. Orkin's been around since 2018. And the termites and everything else have gotten worse. I also had a meeting at another facility, and I didn't want to say anything about it, and I'm not going to, because it's too embarrassing for the person and for me. I was so sad. But this other facility had equally or more roaches. Okay? And I have proof. I have people who saw it. I have pictures. But I didn't want to embarrass anybody, so I didn't say anything. And I feel kind of bad that I didn't say anything. but they need to go. And we need to bring in someone who's gonna do a fair and equal assessment of that. Whatever you were giving out tonight, Commissioner Hope, I would like to have copies. That's another public information request. And what was that again?
The one that I passed around.
And what was that again?
Huh?
That what you passed out tonight, what was that?
You can have it. Who's got it?
Hammond has it.
I've got it.
And what is it again? Because, you know,
It's the November 22nd email from Mr. Sean Robinson sent to Mr. Hammond.
and basically it was just explaining what he saw.
Verbatim what I read at the dice, and then the photos attached.
But what you're waiting on right now is a written report more detailed than that.
That's what I requested he provide Mr. Hammond, the WDO report.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Just addition, yes, sir.
Resident Charles Tufano. I have a question for Danielle, our city attorney. You were discussing and referenced something about so many days gone by before we were closing out on being able to, I guess, authorize a suit, or what is that in reference to a building? Or?
It is. It's the Thickets building, and you'll have to forgive me, I'm not a resident, so Mr. Hammond knows the cross streets, but I don't.
Okay, the Thickets building.
It's the building across the street from Mustang Bar and Grill.
Oh, right, the one with
The one, yes.
Yeah, okay.
The roof caved in.
And
the
windows
full glass
knocked out
and
and all kinds of.
So I guess that means that they've been warned to clean it up, and we're at the point where we're gonna just.
They received an order from a special magistrate saying essentially that they had such number of days to get in compliance.
Okay.
When you record code enforcement orders, though, they have to exist in the public record for 90 days prior to foreclosure on a property.
Okay. And
So we're essentially going to be foreclosing on our lien that has been sitting on that property, but they
Okay.
make you wait 90 days for it to sit. That
after
order.
the lien is passed, okay, so the lien date is up and then another 90 days.
Yeah, so it's
okay.
the recording of, you have your special magistrate hearing, the special magistrate gives you an order.
Right.
The order gets recorded in the public record, it runs with the land. So essentially, if you were to run a title search on that property, that
Okay.
order is gonna pop up as a
Got it.
lien on the property. That lien has to exist for 90 days
Days.
pursuant to state statute prior to you foreclosing on the property.
Okay.
A lot of people gonna be
And-
glad to see that.
Do you know if that applies to any determinations by the special magistrate as it applies to any ordinance? Like, in other words, for any ordinance violation that a magistrate passes his decision on to a resident, does that same apply? Like, if that resident doesn't comply for X time, then another 90 days goes by and then the property goes up for
So it's an option that the city has. It's not always the most advisable option. Sometimes it's going to cost more money to institute the suit than you're going to get from the land.
Okay.
So that's something that the commission had to think long and hard about with Thickets, is whether we were going to declare it a hazardous building and make them tear it down, or did we want to obtain the property ourselves, take the building down, but then you still have the land underneath it too.
Right.
So it was kind of serving a dual purpose for Thickets of, we get this piece of property located right as you're coming into town.
Yes, I'm familiar.
You know, and it was, I mean, everyone here was talking about how terrible it is you're coming into town, and that's one of the first things you see.
Right.
So it was not only this idea of trying to get rid of this building, but also trying to ensure that you don't get rid of the building and then have something worse pop up. You know, so it's very strategic in terms of how you do it. Foreclosure suits aren't always cheap, depends on how hard people fight you. You know, so litigation can be very costly.
Yes.
Given the lack of correspondence from the folks who own Thickets, this is an observation of the commission that they were weighing, you know, the pros and cons, and if someone has ignored special magistrates and ignored the orders and been contacted probably 400 times by Mr. Hammond, the chances of them coming in and fighting it like all get out are probably slim.
To none. Got it. Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you very much. Yeah, appreciate that.
I have a question for Mr. Hammond on code enforcement. on 346 on the south side, just past the post office, there's that overgrown lot with the kind of greenish blue house that sits back where people were living in cars and stuff last
Correct.
year. What's going on with that property? Do you know?
That property was coded, and after we originally coded it, it was sold. It was recoded again, and the individual that was coded, my last conversation with them was they were going to remove all of the structures off of that piece of property.
Okay.
But I have not seen any activity on it
Yeah,
lately.
because that's another one of those eyesores that is close to downtown. Okay, thank you.
It is a couple. All right. Yep, seeing that, I guess we covered everybody. That motion to adjourn, 8:42.